What is up, everyone, and welcome back to Across the Board, sponsored by MoneyBall Metrics. A little bit different view today. You have myself, Alpha Dog Best, as your normal host, and today with me I have Joe from Moneyline Hacks. It is the two of us. We are running a little two-man game today, and we're excited to break down a little UFC, a little NFL, and of course, we have our outlier play of the day. Joe, a pleasure to be here with you as always. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Yesterday, the under hit. I know you guys had a big day. It made me a lot of money, so I'm doing excellent. Just no UFC this weekend.
Yep. And let me tell you, yesterday was a phenomenal day. I know me, JD, and we had Jammer on yesterday. All of us had monster days. I know they won all their best bets. I also swept the entire board, not just my best bets. I won every single bet I put out yesterday. So huge day for us. We ran the table. We're looking to do it again, and we have a beautiful football slate we are going to be covering. Joe, you want to recap us on last week's MMA?
Yeah, so last week's MMA went well. We did 3-1 on the best bets here for MMA on Friday's show. So if you did follow, you are up about 6 units on those MMA best bets for last weekend's UFC Noche. We hit the Raul Rosas by decision, which was the big play of the show, plus 450 on that one. So went to decision. You got some big plus money action, and then we doubled up with the over 1.5 rounds. So that fight alone netted 6 units.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then recapping the Ortega versus Diego Lopez fight. That one it went as expected. The only thing I didn't expect was Lopez's dominance. So we were on Ortega money line, but we were on the over 2.5 rounds. That went 1-1. So overall, we're 3-1 for the day. Looked like it almost ended a little bit early, though. Ortega got dropped in the first round. It was a little scary, a little sweaty, but we managed to get it done.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you one thing. I watched every single fight. I was betting every single fight. I didn't cap the card. I just enjoyed it as a fan. I stupidly did not listen to you on the first fight of the card, the one that went to decision. I did take him to get a finish, so I was sitting there watching, thinking about you, saying, damn it, I should have listened to Joe. This is why he is the expert. I will tell you, it was an awesome card to watch. I really enjoyed the main event. I was on Marab, so that was a really good victory for me. I enjoyed it, but it was a great card. The only thing that bothered me, I don't know how you feel about this, was all the main event fights didn't get a finish. So to me, it's a little disappointing when it's such a high marquee event. But the real kind of story and the real event was the Sphere, and the Sphere was unbelievable to watch. What you think about watching the Sphere, the production Dana put on? I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. The Sphere definitely is the future of sports. The way they're going to do sports entertainment live. All the graphics and just the immersion and the story of the Mexican ancestry that they told throughout the whole main card was just amazing. I did remember you and Ben saying you think it's going to happen again. You think Dana's capping when he says it's not going to be there's not going to be another UFC event at the Sphere again, but I'm like in the middle. I think there will be an event at the Sphere again, but I do think it's going to take a really long time for that to happen. The Saudis basically had to bail them out this one, and they don't care how much money they lose. So I don't know how often they're going to do that, and for that reason, I think this might be the only time we see it in the next few years.
It could be the next few years, the only time we see it, but I still stand by what I think. I definitely don't think that'll be the last time, especially with how successful it was. You saw the comments from all the social media influencers, all the big fight fans, everybody who was there seemed to really enjoy the venue. They're almost in Vegas every event now anyway, so I definitely think we will be seeing some more events at the Sphere. Joe, I know that we have no UFC this weekend. They take the week off after the massive pay-per-view. Have any action in any of the lower leagues or any other action from MMA this weekend?
Yeah, there's a PFL going on right now. That would be the one. It's too late to throw out something right now on the show. And then there's a couple of smaller events later on today, like Invicta and Cage Warriors. It's not the talent I really want to cap at this point. We've been doing a lot of contender series every week, and that's already good enough for me as far as lower level talent per week. So
yep.
This week we're just going to keep it easy, work for our next week's card, and basically jump back on the MMA train next week.
So more to come on MMA next week. But Joe, that leads us into today. We have a beautiful 5-game NFL slate. You ready to dive in and break it down with me?
I am.
Let's do it, man. First game we're going to be breaking down is going to be the Texans, who are visiting Minnesota, taking on the Vikings. Both teams coming in 2-0. Joe, I don't know about you, but when you saw the Vikings schedule before the season started and they had the 49ers in week 2, I definitely would not have thought that this team would be 2-0 coming into this game. On the other side, the Texans just keep being the Texans. To me, it's an interesting line that the Vikings are favored. They are currently, let me double check here. I'm sorry, the Texans are favored by 2.5. I thought it would be a little bit more than the 2.5, especially with how these teams have done last year compared to this year. There is a lot of recency bias going into this line. Do you think this is a good line, Joe? What do you like in the Texans-Vikings this week?
I actually think it's a great line. I think, like you said, it would have been a little weird for the Vikings to be favored, especially I think that would just mean they're coming off of that hype and living in the moment. But I'm liking the Texans again. Both teams have the ability to score. I think Texans have the more dynamic player in C.J. Stroud, and they have a great receiving core. I know Vikings have the best receiver in the game statistically, but I'm liking right now I'm liking the Texans right now, but I also like the under. I do think both teams have the ability to score, but both teams do have defenses that won't get run into the ground. So for that reason, yeah, I'm liking the under.
Do you think it's an issue here with the Joe Mixon injury? I know he has not practiced this week. He still is a true questionable. But besides Joe Mixon being out, Dameon Pierce has not been practicing either, the backup running back. Nico Collins is a true questionable as well. So there are a lot of injuries for this Texans team. But on the other side, the Vikings are basically just as battered up. Justin Jefferson's a true questionable. Jordan Addison's a true questionable. And Dallas Turner, their defensive stud, young kid back there, is also a true questionable. For me, I'm not going to mess around with the spread in this game. I do like the Texans. I do think they get it done. And I am going to take their money line at the minus 130 odds. Like I said, I'm not a huge Sam Darnold believer quite yet. It is going to take a couple weeks. They had a very impressive win over the 49ers, don't get me wrong, but they did beat up on the lowly Giants. So that first week, not really taking too much into account from that one. Last week, they were fantastic. I think they have a great head coach, the Vikings, but as they play better teams and teams that are a little more healthier, I think the Texans should be able to expose them and have a big game. Give me the Texans on the money line, like I said, at a minus 130. Joe, let's keep it moving. I think so too. I think that's the right play on the game. I don't like messing with spreads that are close to the 3. We talk about it on the show all the time, how we say there are some lines you want to avoid in the NFL. And if you're betting on something that's like a 3.5, 2.5, those are some pretty key numbers. So when you can get a money line down at a minus 130, I think it's better to play the money line than risk it on those couple points. We all saw how that Chiefs game ended last week against the Bengals. Last second field goal to win it by 1. We can definitely get that in this type of game. So you don't want to lose on something like that when you miss the cover by just by 1 point or 2.
Let's Especially with Mixon being gone, and the Texans are still holding their, on average, 13 points on defense. So we got
they've been good. I do agree with Mixon being out. That is going to be a big loss. He was looking fantastic on the first game. Shout out to the big guy, JD Line Movers. He's here, guys. He's not feeling well today. He was going to give it a go, but he isn't feeling great. I do have his plays for best bets, so don't worry. To JD Nation, to Line Movers Nation, I got y'all covered. The bets are here, and we will get those in for you guys. If anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat. We are monitoring that as well. And, Joe, let's move on to the second game we have on the slate, which to me is going to be the surprising team of the NFL season so far. The New Orleans Saints coming in 2-0. They're 1-0 at home, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who, I'm not going to lie to you, I did not see them losing to the Falcons last week. What did you think of that? Before we get into this breakdown, what did you think about that game on Monday night? Did you think that the blame should be put on Nick Sirianni for not running the ball? Do you think the blame should be on Saquon Barkley for not catching the ball? Or do you think the blame should be more on Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, for allowing them to get all these big chunk plays and get out of bounds with no timeouts? What do you think?
I'm going to put the bulk of the blame on Sirianni. You hand that ball off and you're 2-0 right now. The whole nation's saying it, and that's what it is. But at the same time, Saquon does catch that ball 9 or 8 times out of 10. He's reliable, and that's just human error. No one's perfect. So I'm not going to put the blame on Saquon. I'll put more of the blame on Sirianni, and depending on how this season goes, I think he has a true chance of being let go halfway throughout the season if things go south.
I feel the exact same way you do. One fun stat about Saquon Barkley, that was his 16th true drop in the last 3 years. He does lead the NFL. So if there was one wrinkle in Saquon Barkley's game, it is in the passing game. He was an elite pass catcher in college, but since he's been in the NFL, he has struggled to catch the dang ball. I'll tell you one thing, Joe, as a Giants fan, I thoroughly enjoyed him not catching that ball. But as somebody who was betting on the Eagles, I was a little disappointed that they blew it late. I'm like you. I do put most of the blame on Sirianni. I do not think he is a good coach. He's also probably the least liked guy in the NFL. Just his antics, the way he acts all the time. Just not a big fan of his. But yeah, I do definitely put the big bulk of the blame on Sirianni and also a lot on Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator. How do you give up 15-yard plays to the sideline over and over and over? It wasn't something where, they kept taking shots and getting big chunk plays. They were methodical about it. Every single play was a 10 to 15-yard play where they got out of bounds. It wasn't like they made one good defensive play. They just kept letting him go. So that, to me, is definitely reflective on how the coaches did. But let's get into this game, Joe. Eagles need a bounce back here, and they are going to the Saints. And to me, I am still surprised the Saints are the favorite here. I do lean the Eagles in this matchup. I think we are going to see some regression out of Derek Carr. He just cannot continue to play this well. They had that big win, like we said, but I just don't anticipate that to be able to continue as the season goes on. I'm still not sold on the Saints. So give me the Eagles with the points. You can currently get 2.5 points on the Eagles, and that's exactly what I am playing. Joe, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I'm actually liking the Saints. I'm leaning the Saints right now. Kamara, he's going to build off that momentum. I know the Cowboys have a struggling run defense, and you're able to run all through them and over them, and they can't stop a nosebleed. But guess who else is the same way? The Eagles. Maybe not to the same extent, but they have a struggling run defense as well. And I don't think Derek Carr even needs to play as well as he's played inside of 2 games. I agree with you, though. I do think he's going to regress a little, but I think he's gonna even out more towards more towards of how he normally plays, but I still think it's gonna be an up year for him overall, and he's gonna play well enough to get this game secure.
I think so too. Well, yeah, no, I'm on the opposite way. I do think he will play well, but I do think the Eagles get it done. But it is good that we have some variety on this show. So either you or I will be back on Friday talking some smack to each other, and one of us will be happy with how this game did play out, my friend. Let's keep it moving to your team. We got the Ravens who are going to Dallas taking on those Cowboys. And Joe, I got to say it, brother. I got to say it. You told me these Cowboys were like the best team ever and they were going to really perform. I didn't quite see that in this game last weekend, but they have a good redemption shot. They are home against an 0-2 Ravens team. This is your favorite team. What do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, so when I was high on the Cowboys, it was because I was, going with the recent trends of being just great in September, not losing much in September at all, and I thought we were going to continue that momentum. But hey, if the Cowboys are going to lose in September, maybe they could win in January. We'll see this year. But this game, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be pretty potent on the offense, but then I do think it's either going to start slow or it's going to slow down. I don't think the whole game is going to be a shootout, and I do still like the under on this game, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's always going to be Lamar, but he has to bounce back from that, from being 0-2. No MVP has ever started the year being 0-3, and that's what he's facing right now. So he's going to be a desperate, hungry guy trying to lead his team to victory. On the other hand, we just got our butt whooped, and the Cowboys just got their butt whooped. And I don't know. Sometimes when the Cowboys get whooped like that, they don't bounce back for a bit. So it's hard. It's hard. I'm really not on any side right now with the money line and spread. And if I'm going to have to play something, I do think lean the under on this game.
I like that underplay too. If I were to touch a total in this game, I would take the under. But Joe, I have some news for you. I am all over the Cowboys in this spot. I was with you last weekend too, so I know I gave you a little crap earlier, but I saw the game the exact same way you did, so I was there with a losing ticket as well. But in this game, I really do think the Cowboys defense will play a lot better, and I do think this Ravens offense needs to learn how to play with each other. They just added Derrick Henry, and they're not utilizing him in the right way. He's the type of guy that needs speed when he gets the ball to build up and break tackles. You cannot run an option with Derrick Henry. They're standing there with him at the line waiting to see if Lamar is going to hand him the ball off or Lamar is going to take it himself. That doesn't work with him. You need to pitch him the ball or play out of the power eye and hit him right up the mouth and play smash mouth football. So far they haven't been doing that. Maybe it is because their offensive line has been shaky, but until they start learning how to use their new weapons, I'm not going to be backing them. They're 0-2 for a reason. I know the first game was against the Chiefs, and they were a toe away from getting into that game, but we also what happened last week against the Raiders. This team really does struggle, and they do not play the offense in the right way right now. So I do think until they get it together, I am definitely going to be taking the Ravens. So let's keep that one rolling, Joe. I'm taking the Cowboys, at home on the money line at the -105 slight dogs. So let's get it.
Let's go. And it's two potent pass rushes too. So these quarterbacks, it's two teams that should be running the ball. One team doesn't and has a way better running game, and the other team does but has a far less running game. So I just think it's going to be who could initiate this running game better and who could make the touchdowns when needed. I don't think there's going to be even a 200. I don't think it's going to be even a 250-yard game for each quarterback. I think this is going to be a drawn-out, low-scoring game, 17-14.
It's a great way to put it, too, and that backs up my belief as well. I really do think that this Ravens team needs to learn how to utilize Derrick Henry. I cannot stress that enough. Watching them play the Raiders last week was beyond frustrating because they kept doing that stupid delayed option with a guy who's not a fast, get-off-the-line quick guy. He's a guy who needs to break tackles and goes through contact. So I'm with you. It should be a good running game, and if that's the way the game does play out, I definitely give the Cowboys the advantage, especially with the weakness on the Ravens' offensive line right now. Let's keep it moving right along, Joe. We have our next game on the slate, which is going to be the Detroit Lions taking on the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if you watched the Cardinals game last week, but holy hell, they were exciting. They won 41-10, and Marvin Harrison Jr. had his welcome to the NFL game. He absolutely went off and had a monster performance. He does have 134 yards in the year and 2 touchdowns. All of that was in the game last week. Lions coming in 1-1. They had a pretty disappointing game themselves. They were favored over the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Bucks went into Detroit and got the win, 20-16. So we have two teams that are 1-1, one team with big potential, one team that wasn't expected to do well, but looks like they may be better than we all anticipated. What do you like in this one, Joe?
Yeah, you said it great. One team does have big potential. One team was expected to be 2-0 already, and then the other one is being, overachieving a little. Kyler Murray and that potent offense he has with the Cardinals, that's a real thing. But unfortunately, there's two different sides of the ball here, and they're very bad on the defensive end. With that being said, I think the Lions are going to take this. I do like their chances of winning, and if the line's still at -3, I would take that Lions -3. I like that a lot. I think Lions are going to have a bounce back game here. I think they're gonna control the game and just outclass the Cardinals on defense. So I think they're going to be able to not let the Cardinals run up the board like they did last week with the Rams. But I do see the Lions winning this game by over that 3-point spread.
Man, I got a question for you. What's going on with Jared Goff? Like, this guy was supposed to be one of the better quarterbacks this year. We all heard in preseason, the Lions have 13 of 17 games in domes. He may lead the league in yards for the season, all these type of things. And we're just not seeing that performance out of Jared Goff so far this year. He has 524 yards passing through 2 games, but he also has 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions. So he really has not done a fantastic job at moving the ball, which is crazy to me because this Lions team has a top, I'll put it out there, a top 2 offensive line in the league. They are giving their team so much time back there, and he's just made some incredible mistakes. You put it perfectly, though. I think the Cardinals' defense is suspect here, and I really think the Lions have a much better defense. Give me the Lions at the -3. I think we see a bounce-back game for them, and they win this game closer to double digits, then closer to the -3 line. We have a comment in here from JD from Line Movers who says Cardinals are an over team. They have the offense, but the defense will get exposed this week. I agree. I think we see a big game from Jared Goff. Let me see one thing right here. JD, I got his pick right here. I was going to give all JD's picks out when we get the best bets, but I do have his pick on this game. He's clearly on the over. He's on over 51.5, and we understand why. We put it perfectly earlier. This Cardinals team, they can score. Kyler Murray looks like he's kind of back. Looks like he's kind of good, kind of can produce in the NFL. So if they can continue getting this offense moving in a good way, I do think we will continue to see points in this game. And I also think the Lions will be able to take this because the Cardinals offense should struggle a little bit against the Lions defense in the second half. Back over to the comments. We have Joe in here who's been here all show. We appreciate you, Joe. Joe is saying he's on the over, so he agrees with JD. He's taking that as well.
Yeah, I like that over. That was going to be my second pick, over 51.5. Lions average five yards a carry. That's third in the NFL right now. They're just going to exploit that weak run defense that the Cardinals have. And I think Goff does have a better game. It's only week 3 of NFL, and usually it takes 5 or 6 weeks for some of these guys to settle in. So I'm taking those Lions -3 in the over. Take it to the
all right.
bank.
So we know we're rooting for this game, Joe. We're rooting for the Lions, and we're rooting for points here. We're all on the same wavelength. All right, Footy Chancellor is here as well. He's saying that he is at Penn State. He wants a breakdown. Footy, you should have been here yesterday, brother. We had the college football show. This is NFL. And yes, Footy, we do know you are here. We appreciate you are here as always. Guys, if you are big soccer fans and want some of the best soccer picks possible, tap into the MoneyBall Metrics Discord. Footy is the soccer capper for the Discord, and he gives out free winners all the time. So the link to get in, get Footy's winners, get Line Movers winners, get Joe's winners, get my winners. Get in the Discord. It's free to join, and it's a great time inside the Discord.
I don't even bet soccer, but Footy's made me so much money in the MoneyBall Metrics Discord. So yeah, Footy's definitely the soccer king.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was a collegiate soccer player. Soccer was my life for at least half of my life, but I never followed international soccer to a T. So I tail Footy all the time. He even DMs me his picks because I'm lucky like that. And I get to watch the game that I love and tail Footy and get some winners. So make sure you guys get into the Discord, get those winners. Footy is one of the best in the business. All right, Joe, we're down to our final game, which is going to be the Chiefs versus the Falcons, Sunday Night Football. This Chiefs team keeps escaping wins. What is it? They've won 2 games this year by a total of 2 points, so 1 point per game. Or no, the first game, the touchdown didn't count, so they got lucky there. But the Chiefs really have not done a great job at capitalizing this year. It feels like it's a typical Chiefs season, though, where they don't cover a bunch of games, but they win a bunch of games. And on the other side is the Atlanta Falcons, who had an unbelievable performance against Philadelphia on Monday night. Kirk Cousins had his debut moment for the Atlanta Falcons. He had a big game, was able to bring them back with 1:45 on the clock and win the game from the Eagles. Joe, per usual, we will start with you. What do you like in this Chiefs-Falcons game for Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, so although both teams have some dynamic offenses, I do see the under in this game as well. I think it's going to start off hot. I think they're going to start off scoring, but for some reason, the Chiefs' defense, they just always lock down that second half, usually, and the teams just won't score on them the second half like they did the first half. So for that reason, I do like the under 46.5 by the hook at 47, and I think the Chiefs are going to pull it off. They're just gonna exploit that weak secondary.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Mahomes. Mahomes and weak secondaries. It's gonna be a bad night for them.
I think the same exact thing. And what I'm doing is I have a little bit of an interesting play on this game. I have a little money line parlay. I have to let you guys know both teams are not covering either of the Monday night games today. We will be covering that on Monday. But I do have to give out that I am parlaying the Chiefs on the money line with the Bills on the money line over the Jaguars. You can get that parlay at a plus 130. I think both teams definitely win. And we all know what happens in Chiefs games. I'm not willing to lay the -3 on the Chiefs on the road, but I am happy to take the money line because, per usual, I think we may see at the last second of the game, Harrison Butker trot his ass back on the field and kick yet another game-winning field goal because that just is what Harrison Butker does, and that's how the Chiefs win ball games. One thing that's been interesting to me, Joe, so I did give out my official play, but I want to talk a little bit more on the game. What do you think about Travis Kelce's outlook this season? I know a lot of people have been talking about his fantasy numbers. He only had 3 targets last week with 1 catch for, I believe it was 6 yards. So if you're in a PPR league, which points are boosted, Travis Kelce got you a whopping 1.6. And the week before, he had under 6 points as well. Do you like this season outlook for Travis Kelce? If you're a fantasy guy, is he someone you'd want on your team?
It's hard to tell right now, and right now it's a little pessimistic, but I think he still is. I mean, 2 performances aren't just going to wash away what he's done for the last few fantasy seasons. I would say still hanging there with him. I was getting a little bit worried after week 1 with Mark Andrews, my tight end fantasy pick, giving me a whopping 1 point that first week, and then he at least got me 10 points. So last week. So I would say do the same for Kelsey. Try to stay positive. His body of work speaks for itself. It's not like Worthy's still out right now, right?
Oh, Worthy
No.
should be in there.
Sorry,
Hollywood
not Worthy.
Brown's out for
Yeah.
out for the entire year. Out for the entire year.
Yeah, if he was still in, I'd be like, oh, maybe, but no, he's out. So Travis Kelsey's going to get some of those pickups, and I think it'll be all right.
See, my feeling about Travis Kelsey, I definitely have a unique opinion on this, but he's going to be 35 next month in just a couple weeks. I think the Chiefs are trying to keep him relevant for longer, not force feed him the ball all regular season so he can be an absolute dynamic weapon when it comes to playoff time. They know they don't need Travis Kelsey to catch 10 balls per game to make the playoffs, to win the division and get back in there. I think they are saving him a little bit just because when you're 35 years old, you can't take the volume of hits he's taken his whole career. He's over the middle of the field all game, every game, and you just can't keep pounding a 35-year-old like that and expect him to be there in the playoff season. So for me personally, if you're a fantasy guy, I would trade a guy like Travis Kelsey. There's somebody I'm super high on who's Brock Bowers. I took him pretty late in my draft, but he's looking like a true star out in Oakland. He's getting right now, or Vegas, I apologize. He has 17 targets through 2 games. Last week he had 9 targets and 9 catches, so he's proving to be a pretty big weapon for that Raiders offense. I'm much higher on him than I am for Kelsey for the year. All right, Joe, it's about that time. Before we get into best bets, we do have to get into our outlier play of the day. And guys, if you are not already signed up for Outlier, you must get on Outlier. Outlier is the best app possible to help you find player props and advantages in sports games. Today, we are going to the baseball diamond, and we are taking Tommy Edman to have under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This has hit in 80% of his last 10 games. That means in only 2 of the last 10 that this has come true. He's been struggling. He's not been getting hits, runs, and RBIs, and that's exactly what we're playing. We've been crushing these. We've been getting all these props from Outlier, so if you've been here with us every day, you know how these plays do. Make sure you guys check out Outlier. It's super cheap to join. There will be posts posted on the MoneyBall Metrics Discord. Like I said, make sure you guys are getting in there and experience some of the great advantages that Outlier can give you. Joe, it's about that time. We've made it through all the breakdowns. We have about 5 minutes left in the show. So you know what we do on this show. We go into best bets. So, Joe, I have to ask you, it's our football show. You're going first. How many do you have for the people today? 1. Do you have 2? Do you have 3? How many best bets you got?
I got 3.
Let's go.
All right. So best bet number 1, let's go to the Ravens versus Cowboys. Really liking that under. 2 top-notch defenses, even though the Ravens haven't played like a top-notch defenses through 2 games. I think they will against the Cowboys. Just seems like everybody just gets up out of bed with a fire under their ass when they're playing the Cowboys. So I'm taking that under 47.5 points.
Right.
Then let's go to the Chiefs game for best bet number 2. I got Carson Still. It's actually a prop bet. Carson Still on the Chiefs under 1.5 receptions. He just hasn't been featured that much in the Chiefs passing game this season. He has 1 reception on average so far, and they have a heavy reliance on other people like Rashee Rice. So I got Carson Still under 1.5 receptions. For the best bet number 3, let's go with Derek Carr over 1.5 rush yards.
Wow.
Yeah, he's another prop. He's shown consistent ability to scramble when necessary. He's averaged over 2.5 rush yards this season, and my model has found a strong edge at 26% on this. So let's take that.
I love it. Joe gave you the 3 winners. Y'all, if you're here every week, you do know what Joe does in the UFC and in MMA. He is the sharpest MMA mind I have seen on Twitter. That's why he's here with us. I know JD feels the exact same way. This guy's an absolute killer in the MMA market. And Joe, you've been killing it at football too. So we appreciate those best bets. We always love having you on. Let me go through my best bets, guys. The first one I'm going to give you is that parlay. Chiefs-Bills moneyline parlay at a plus 130. I absolutely love it. I think both teams get it done. I don't trust the spread for either. So let's get that as an MLP. Plus 130 of the odds. Second best bet, Houston Texans on the money line at a -130. I think the Texans are going to have a huge game here. I think they win it, but I'm not comfortable taking the spread either at the 2.5/3. Give me the money line -130. Final best bet for me is going to be the Eagles +2.5. You can buy it up to a +3 if you like it, a -120, but I still like it at a +2.5. If you like that security, I don't hate that idea, but I do think the Eagles win this game outright. So my security alone is just taking the +2.5. They should be able to expose the Saints team for not being a real title threat yet. Impressed with this Saints team. Need to see it a lot more before I start thinking this team is one of the elites in the NFC. And guys, we have 3 more best bets. Y'all know who they're from. They're from JD Line Movers. He's given me the plays, authorized me to give it to you. Let's do it. First one JD's giving out is the Texans money line -130. He's riding with me. Smart man. Second play, JD is going with the Eagles Saints over 49. We talked about that game. I absolutely love that one, as well as he's going with the Lions Cardinals over 51.5. Also love that over. Well, Joe, it's been a great day. You and I, first time ever, we've got to run a little 2-man game. I loved every second of it. We gave the people the plays. The chat was freaking awesome today. We appreciate everyone commenting. JD's still here saying, great show, guys. I know that he enjoyed it as well. And Joe, we will be seeing you next week. Thanks, per usual, for doing a great job. And we want to thank every single one of you 1,000 people that are still here. We'll be back on Monday. Joe, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye. See you next week. And